sponsor. I have a home group. It's Common Solution Group, which meets here every Monday night at 8:30. And I have worked the 12 steps from the Big Book, and am a recovered alcoholic. So I had my first drink when I was like 6th grade. It was actually, I was at a friend's house, not a friend. I went with a group of people, I met up with them, and I wanted them to be my friends. And they were the cool kids, and they were drinking their mom's cooking rum, and they had a joint, and so I joined them. But beyond that, I didn't really touch alcohol through high school. I was busy, with sports and working. But I went to college after graduation, and I ran track at college, and I started, in a group of people, and the group of people I was around, what they did to to have a good time was drink. And so I jumped right in with them. It was really the first time I felt really out of place when I got to college. Didn't really know anybody. I'm from a really small town. I graduated 56 people, so everybody knew everybody. And when I got to college, that was not the case. So for me, getting to know people and being in that environment, being uncomfortable, the easiest thing for me, can't beat them, join them. So I drank, and I quickly started drinking a lot. From the weekends to Tuesday night, there weren't any Wednesday morning classes at the university, so Tuesday night was party night. Well, regardless of track and whatever else was going on, I picked up on Tuesday night drinking. And sooner or later, it's 3-4 nights a week. And I didn't realize this until somewhat recently, but things got pretty bad for me real quick there. I ended up quitting the track team. I had like a 1.6 GPA, which is terrible. I just didn't even go to class. Didn't care. My life quickly became drinking, and I was clueless as the why. So really my first attempt at me trying to fix that problem, I realized recently was after midway through my sophomore year, I decided that I was going to join the Army. And that would, put me back in a structured environment. Like I said, I was in sports growing up, so team atmosphere, structured environment, discipline. If I can get back to that, everything will be okay. So that's what I did. I dropped out of college, and I joined the Army, and I went to boot camp, and I was in the reserves. I wasn't active duty. So when I was done with my boot camp and MOS training, I came back and decided to go back to college at Ohio State, and that's what brought me down to Columbus. That was in 2003. I moved in with my best friend growing up. We both had an apartment. We shared an apartment down here. And I started to go to school again. And things, again, the only really thing that I knew at this point, and it didn't help being in the military because there's a drinking environment there, was the party. As things were good, well, of course, came drinking basic training. As soon as I get back into school and start, living again on my own, things quickly get bad. I made some really bad decisions, ruined my relationship initially, and in fact, my best friend decided that I got too crazy for him, started bringing drugs into the apartment, and he left. He left me. So, along that line, other friends that I had from school, they would come down, join me, and before I knew it, I literally, the core people that I grew up with, that were, my friends from high school, and thereafter were gone. I didn't have it anymore. So, my next move was geographical. I actually was into cocaine for about 1.5 years of drinking, and I just was like, what the hell, I gotta get out of here. So my move was, I was gonna move back home. Move back home with my parents, in a quiet little town of Ada, where nothing bad can happen, and I can get myself back together. So I did that, and nothing changed. Nothing changed. I picked up the habits. It's like the book talks again. Things are good for a minute, and they always get worse again. And that was my experience. So I did another key for me. Looking back, I was deployed overseas for a year. We couldn't drink over there, but somehow a group of us found a way to get alcohol over there. And of all the people that drank over there, I got so drunk one night, I ended up getting busted by the base, military police, and did 45 days extra duty, filling sandbags. I was the only one. Everybody else, no problems. So, came home from that, and that was I've got a quick forgetter, so I forgot about that. Just went to war. I'm a hero, all this stuff. It's time to get. So now, I decided, thankfully, my wife is here tonight. We decided to get married, and, things were going to be all great. And actually, they were for a little while. I remember, there's a lot of talk about PTSD and all this stuff. Fortunately, I don't have any issues with that. But I used it as an excuse early on to, start drinking. And it was a couple drinks a night. To the last 5 or 6 years of my drinking, I drank every day, every single day. I think probably the last few years, maybe a handful of days that I did not drink. So, it got progressively worse, and I never, the final 2 years of my drinking, I never knew what was going to happen. Never knew what the result was going to be. If I was going to, there's many, many times where I said, hey babe, going to the bar, going to have a couple. I'll be back by dinner time. I mean, I broke a record. I'm sure she knew damn well that I wasn't going to be home for dinner. And I wasn't. I was shutting the place down. So, not only that, but, you know, getting back to the reason, you know, why I kind of started drinking was, like I said, when I got to college, I was in this environment, and, you know, one thing that I found out as a result of working the steps is that fear ran my life. And book talks about, you know, 100 different forms, and it's true. It's true for me. I was afraid of everything, everybody, every possible outcome that was going to happen. I fear ran me, and my way of dealing with that was to drink. Unfortunately, you know, as time passed, I lost all choice and control of my drinking. Like I said, I had no clue when I picked up. I mean, I knew that I wasn't just going to drink one. But there were times, you know, I meant it. Like, I'm just going to have a couple. Next thing you know, I wake up the next morning. I have no clue what happened. So that went on for, like I said, a number of years, and things got progressively worse. I'm not one of those, you know, alcoholics. You know, by the grace of God, my wife didn't leave me. I did get pulled over for DUI once. So I got a lot of, you know, reasons and things that told me that I was an alcoholic, but I never, for many years, never crossed my mind that I was. I mean, I was that guy, and more about alcoholism that Chrissy was reading in that paragraph. I swear I tried every one of those things to stop drinking, every single one of them. And none of them worked. So, you know, it came to that point for me where probably the last year of my drinking, well, at least the last year, maybe more, you know, I wasn't drinking for fun anymore. I wasn't out to party, to have a good time. I was out to get drunk, to get the hell out of my own self, so that I could deal with me and everybody else. And that's what I did. It got, you know, it got bad for me. You know, you always hear, I always hear people, I can't even look in the mirror, I can't even look in the mirror. Well, that was true for me. I got to the point where I did not want to look in the mirror. And when the few times that I would, I hated that person. I really did. And I, you know, for a while, I was at a, you know, point of, well, you know, I didn't know what to do. So I did what I always did. I kept drinking. And I woke up one morning from a long bender, and it was about 8 o'clock, and I poured a glass of whiskey, went out back, started sipping on it, drank a cigarette, and or smoking a cigarette, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't drink anymore. It's destroying me. I'd been a doctor recently prior to that, for the VA. My liver numbers were up. Tell the guy, how much I drink. I'm actually honest with him. He's like, Jesus. He's like, you got to cool it, and it meant nothing to me. It didn't. I forgot about it. 5 minutes later, I was walking out the door, and I was probably on the way to the bar. But I got to that point, and I just told myself I can't do it anymore. And but there was another thought that came to my mind, and that was, I can't imagine my life without drinking. And when those two thoughts came to my mind, I was fucking scared. That was absolute hopeless for me. At that point, what the fuck do I do? So, I heard about AA. I failed to mention my dad's dad, my grandpa, was sober in the program for the last 9 years of his life. And I watched my dad's brother, and I, drank with him and did drugs with him, but I watched him die of the disease. So it's in my family. But with that being said, I really didn't know anything about AA. I'd heard of it. I didn't know, I thought maybe I'm an alcoholic, but I sure as hell had no clue what the hell that meant. So the only thing I used to, I still do, but I run quite a bit, and there's this place that I ran by all the side, Parkside. I live in Canada, and so I was like, I'm gonna call Parkside. I'm gonna get a treatment. I didn't know what else to do. So my wife was still asleep at this point, as I'm downing my first glass of whiskey for the day, and she gets up, and I tell her, and God bless her, I don't know what the hell she was thinking. So I went to Parkside, and I detoxed there. I spent 21 days in Parkside. And actually, he came to me. They said, we're going to let you out 3 days early. I was scheduled to get out on Wednesday, and so I was getting out on Monday. And I was scared to death. In there, you can't drink, it's easy. But I was scared to death. Well, I had no solution for what the hell I was going to do when I got out. It was only by the grace of God. Like I said, I was scheduled to get out on Wednesday. I was let out on Monday. And there was a guy that came in there, Parkside, and spoke one night. And I was too shaken shit to go up and talk to him, after he was speaking. But I saw some other guy talking to him and got some information from him. So I went to that fellow before I left, and I said, hey, you got that guy's information? And I got it from him. And it was the information for the home group that I'm now part of. So I came I came here that night. I came to Monday night meeting. Like I said, they said, in the treatment center, the couple of, they told me to get a sponsor. I got a sponsor. For the first time in my life, I was willing to take some fucking direction. And that is the truth. Before that, I got the answers. I don't want yours. I got this, that's the way I live my life. I knew it all. Come to find out, it's much easier this way. But so I got a sponsor, and I got I got a sponsor like a week before I got out of there. And I'm calling this guy, especially when they tell me I'm getting out early, I'm like, man, get out of here, what am I supposed to do? He said, okay, why don't you make a gratitude list, and then we'll meet and we'll talk about it. Okay, well, I came here Monday night to the meeting, and I stayed after, and a number of people stayed after with me and talked to me, and I finally learned what alcoholism was. And I learned that I, myself, confirmed it, that I was an alcoholic. And the most important thing that I got from that meeting was some hope that there was a solution for me. Like I said, leaving the treatment center, I was scared because I didn't want to drink anymore, but I didn't know what to do. So that night I ended up, it was freezing cold, and a guy stayed with me. We sat in his truck, and he smoked a cigar, and I smoked cigarettes, and we stayed out there till like 2 in the morning. Going over the first, the second step, and explained to me that I had already done those, and explained to me the importance of a sponsor that had, done the steps the way it's taught in the big book, and has had a spiritual experience as a result of it. So with that information, I decided I let my old sponsor go, and I asked that guy to be my sponsor. So that was that's how I came to AA. When I got here, like I said, I got a little hope, but the difference, the difference here was it was time to get to work. I experienced things here, and from the people, specifically in my own group, that I've never experienced before. And that is the fucking truth. Not what I want to hear, not what makes me feel good, not what I like or dislike, but the truth. And, with that, on my end, having had a bottom, I was willing to, do those things, to finally look at myself, accept some things about myself that I didn't before. So I got right into the step work. I met with my sponsor weekly. First 2 steps were done, and we went over the 3rd step together in the big book. And I did my third step. In the home group, on my knees, and everybody else was on their knees. And it was that experience, you know, it wasn't like lightning bolts and stuff, but in all reality, you know, like I said, I had been trying for years to figure this thing out on my own. To just, first of all, drink like normal people, and then in the end, just not drink. And I just didn't want to drink anymore. And I had wore out every option. But again, that was of my own, you know, doing. The third step for me, you know, when I made a decision to turn my will in my life, what I want, what I do, over the care and direction of, you know, God, my understanding. My feeling of that was, it gave me like a sense of relief. I mean, it really did. I don't have to, you know, I'm not the director and that talks about the book. Or the actor is trying to be the director, trying to set the lights, trying to do all those things. I don't have to do that. I'm gonna, you know, do my best just to do God's will, and over time, you know, build a relationship with Him and learn to trust and rely on God. And that was truly was a relief for me. And over time, you know, having through the steps, that relationship and that trust has built, and it is building. So we got right into the fourth step after my third step, and again, like I said, every step I met with my sponsor. We went over each step in the big book before I got started, and I got to work on my inventory. I wrote down some things that I had held on to my entire life, that I never shared with anybody. And like I've heard said many times, that I figured I was going to the grave with. I grew up, just a side note, I grew up Catholic, so I've been to confession many times, and I'm sure as hell wasn't sharing this stuff with any priest. But you know, the book talks about being rigorously honest and putting down everything. And it says, you know, if we don't, we're sure to drink again. Because it says what we're going to leave is big shit. That big thing that we don't want anybody to know about. So I begrudgingly wrote it all. I put it all down on paper. And then I met with my sponsor and I did my fifth step and learned a whole lot about myself. Things that I needed to know. They weren't good things. I learned that I am selfish and self-centered man to the core. Learned that pride and ego, that's what led me for so long. And funny, when I look at everything, none of it ever worked. I had hurt a lot of people. And so these were things in my fifth step that I uncovered with my sponsor, that I had either stuffed deep down. I may, you know, have known about it, I don't know. But to me, they were brought to the surface, and that was a good. This was kind of building the foundation so that I could move on in my steps and make amends. So moving on, it's 5th, 6th, and 7th. Ask God to remove our shortcomings, and then it was on to step 9, which was making amends. And this is all, mind you, in about 2-month period. I'm on step 9, and I'm making amends to the people that I've hurt and injured over the years. So I do those, and during that time, there was still a lurking notion, and I did go back out and drink. I relapsed. I spent 10 days out there, all with just an idea, why can't I drink a 6-pack? 10 days later, as the book talks about, I almost destroyed everything. Again, only by the grace of God did I not lose my job. I about destroyed my marriage. And so, anyhow, I humbled myself and came back and got back on course, and I finished my 9th step. And that for me definitively confirmed that I am an alcoholic. I cannot drink like other people. There is no more lurking notion. And after my amends, we're on to step 10, 10, 11, and 12, which are 10, 11 are daily maintenance steps, which I do every day. I'm not perfect about 10. I do my 11 every day. But these steps, like I said before, I grew up in the church. There was a period of time, my last couple of years of drinking, where I wanted so badly to quit drinking. I went to morning mass every day. I forget whose lead it was, Johnny Harris or Burns B. But I related a lot with it because we were talking about doing what their grandma did, which was go to church and try to emulate that person. And maybe if I do that, I can get better. And for me, that was my dad, my grandma. My dad doesn't have these problems. He's a, high-standing man in this community. Maybe if I do these things, maybe if I go to church every day, which I did, maybe if I, I wanted it so badly that I could get sober. And it didn't happen. Not only did that not happen, but I never had a relationship with God. One thing that I learned here is that a relationship is a give and take. It's not just receiving all the time. And that was my so-called relationship before the program. But the step work, slowly, helped me. That's what it's for, to build that relationship with my higher power, to take the action through my fears and anxieties to do those things. And on the other end, from my experiences, it's always turned out good. Um, so, I do my daily maintenance steps. I go, the book talks about us being happy, joyous, and free. And before the program, I had known happiness probably since my high school days. Really. I looked for it in all the places that so many people do for a long time. Getting married, having a great job, being able to go on vacations, having nice cars, nice things. None of that shit gave me happiness. None of it. I have found a happiness that I long for in this program that I never had before. As a result of working the steps and building a relationship with my God and the fellowship that I found here. Like I said, I had friends that I pushed away from me. They were real friends, but that was a long time ago. In that gap, I didn't have any friends. I had people that I drank with or people that I did shit with, but these weren't people that I gave two shits about, and really I doubt they gave two shits about me. And this program has put, people around me that we're not all friends, but we share, a common thing, and there's truth here that I've never experienced before. I don't have to worry about drinking anymore. The obsession has been lifted, like the promises tell us. And really, at the beginning, if that was the only thing that I would be stopping drinking, I would have been okay with that. I think that's my sponsor that says that, and it's true. I would have been okay with that. But, damn, it doesn't end there. I mean, shit just gets better. One of the common lines is keep coming back, because it only gets better. In my experiences, that's true. My life is full today. It's filled with people in it. I'm not, in my 11th step, I ask for God's will for me for that day and the power to carry that out. So with that, my goal is to get out of myself, do God's will, and my experience with that is when I'm doing that, life's great. With that, I pass.
A little karaoke too.